Hi, welcome to Made with Love by Daisy. In today's video, I will be showing you how to make this cute burger keychain. In case you are not familiar with the basic crochet stitches and amigurumi techniques, please head over to my beginner crochet tutorials. I will leave the link in the description box. For this project, I will be using the following supplies. 4-ply acrylic in colors of your choice. I am literally using scrap yarn for this project because you will need less than 2 grams of some of these colors, so it's a great stash buster. I'll be using a 3mm crochet hook. We'll also need a pair of scissors, a yarn needle, and of course a key ring. I will also be using a glue gun, which is out of the frame for now. Let me put all this aside and we can get started. The first thing we'll be doing is the top bun. So before we begin the bun itself, we'll be making this chain to attach the key ring to. So just start with a slip knot. And make 12 chains. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now I'll chain 1 and leave a long tail and fasten off. You don't need a very long tail, just long enough to make a knot. Now we got to start the actual bun. So let's begin with a magic ring. Start by making 6 single crochet into the magic ring. 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten my magic ring. And before starting the next row, I'm going to use my piece of scrap yarn as a stitch marker or row counter. The second row will just be all increases. So I'll be making 1 increase in each stitch. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. So at the end of this row, you should be having a total of 12 stitches. I'm going to bring my stitch marker back in front. For row 3, I will be making 1 single crochet into the first stitch and then an increase into the next stitch and increase. So we're just going to repeat that all around. Increase, 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 1, increase, 1, increase. And that's the end of the row. At the end of this row, you should be having 18 single crochet. So we're gonna go to row 4, and row 4 we'll be working as follows. So make a single crochet increase in the very first stitch, and then make 1 single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. So in this row, we're gonna make increase and then 1, 2, increase and 1, 2. So increase, 1 and 2. So I'm just going to continue this around the rest of the row, and I'll meet you at the end of this row. So reach the end of row 4 and at the end of row 4 you should be having 24 stitches. And row 5 is going to be the following way. Make 1 single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. So that's the first single crochet, and 1 in the second stitch as well. And now I'm going to make an increase into the next stitch. So the rest of the row we're just going to make 1 single crochet in each of the next 3 stitches and then increase. So the reason I do this is I like to stagger my increases. I don't like to pile all my increases in the same stitch. So that will make sure that the bun looks more rounded and it looks more circular and it does not look like a hexagon. So that was the increase. I'm going to just go 1, 2, 3, and increase in the next stitch. So continue your way around the rest of the row. So if you have counted correctly, you will be left with 1 stitch after the last increase. So I'm just going to make 1 single crochet into that stitch. So at the end of row 5 you should be having 30 single crochet. The next row is just going to be an even row. We have completed all the increase rows, and now we're going to make 1 even row and then we will start decreasing. So since this row is just 1 single crochet in each stitch, I'm going to go off camera, finish it. So I'm done with the even row, which was row number 6. So since we're done with all the even rows, I'm going to pause this and go ahead and attach my keyring. So to do that, I'm going to take the keyring and this chain that we made. I'm going to insert that through this ring. So that this chain is passed through the ring like that. And I'm just going to insert my hook into these stitches from the back to the front and pull that tail to the back. I'm gonna do the same on one of the other stitches. It doesn't matter which stitch you go through, as long as you're not going through the same stitch, this will work. So once I got both the tails out, I'm just gonna keep pulling at it so that the knots are on the side of the work, and I'm just gonna knot it securely. You don't have to worry about being neat because this is anyway gonna be the inside of the bun, and I'm gonna go ahead and knot all 3 tails together. So 3 tails including the tail that was from the magic ring from this bun. So I got this, and I'm just gonna go ahead and trim these. You don't have to trim it, it's anyway gonna be inside, but I find that it's easier for me to do the decrease rows if I have the tails trimmed. So now let's go ahead and do the decrease rows now. So let me bring that stitch marker in front. Let's go ahead and do the decrease rows. So row number 7 is worked like this. So make 1 single crochet into the first stitch and then make an invisible decrease over the next 2 stitches. So do that all around. So 1 decrease. In case you are not familiar with the invisible decrease, I'm sorry, I realized I did that very fast. So insert your hook into the front loop of the first stitch and then into the front loop of the second stitch, so that now you have 2 loops on your hook, and just make a single crochet like you would normally. So continue making this row like this. 1 single crochet decrease, 1 single crochet decrease. I'm gonna go off camera. I will finish this row and I will come meet you. So I'm done with row number 7. So this is how my bun looks as of now. So the next row is just decreases. So at the end of row 7 you should be having 20 stitches. In row 8 we're just gonna make 1 increase in 8 stitch, so it'll be 10 decrease stitches. So just keep making decreases all around this row right up till the end. So I've completed row 8 and this is what it looks like, and I'm gonna leave a long tail and cut the yarn. Stuffing this is actually optional, you don't have to do it, and even if I do, I don't really stuff it with synthetic fiber fill. I just use my scrap yarn and just put that in there and we're good to go. Now I'm going to just sew that opening shut. I'm just gonna insert my needle into all of the front loops. I'm just gonna tighten that loop. And weave in that tail. It's quite secure, and I'll anyway be hot gluing it to the rest of the burger, so it is quite secure. You do not have to worry about it coming loose. I'm just gonna go ahead, weave it in a few more times before I cut that tail. And you don't really have to worry about the bun looking perfect. I mean, it's a burger. Not all buns are the same, so it's okay if it looks a little wonky here and there. Now for the rest of the burger, for the bottom bun, it's worked exactly in the same way except for one row. So here for the top bun, we did the increase rows, we did 1 row of even stitches and then went on to the decrease row. For the bottom bun, you just skip the even row, so that is row number 6. So I make the increases from row 1 to row 5, skip row 6 and go on to row 7 and 8 to the decrease stitches. And the patty is done in exactly the same way, so it's the same pattern. So we're already done with the top bun, the patty and the bottom bun. If you are enjoying this video, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel and don't forget that notification bell so that you do not miss any new content. Let's start making the lettuce. So for the lettuce, again I'm gonna start with a magic ring and make 6 single crochet into that magic ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Tighten that loop, and for row 2 we will be making a triple decrease in each stitch. So by triple decrease I mean we'll be making 3 single crochet into each stitch. So make 1, 2, 3, 1, 2 and 3. Just continue like this around the rest of the row. So I'm done with row 2. At the end of row 2 you should be having 6 into 3, 18 stitches. For the next row we're gonna be sort of making ruffles to make that lettucey look. So make 1 single crochet to the next stitch and then chain 2, and I'm just gonna repeat that across. 1 single crochet, chain 2, 1 single crochet, chain 2. So that chain 2 creates that ruffled look. 1 single crochet, chain 2. I'm just gonna continue like this around the rest of the stitches. So basically repeat that 18 times. I'm gonna go off camera, finish that, and I'll come back. Here is my very last chain 2, and I'm just gonna slip stitch into that first single crochet from this row. And cut the yarn. I'm just gonna pull that through one of those rows, or rather through the gaps in the rows, and I'm gonna knot it behind. I'm really not trying to be neat over here because I'm anyway just gonna sandwich them one on top of each other and stick them in place, so it doesn't really matter. That is the lettuce done, and yes, it does look wonky, but I feel it adds to the realistic look. So I'm gonna put that aside as well along with the rest of the burger. The next one I'm doing is the tomato. Tomato is pretty easy and pretty lame if you ask me. It's just 7 half double crochet inside a magic ring. So after the magic ring I did a chain 1, and I'm just gonna make 7 half double crochet right into that ring. 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. That's it. Now I'm gonna cut that tail off, close the magic ring, and I'm going to join this with an invisible join. And there you go. Here's our tomato. And like all of the other ones, I'm just gonna knot it. Even the type of knot doesn't really matter. And once I have that, I'm just gonna trim the excess tail and save these tails along with all of my other tails so that I can use it to stuff in other projects. So here's a tomato. You're gonna need 2 of these for each one, a burger. And the last thing we need to do is the cheese. And the cheese is also quite simple. So with my yellow, I'm gonna make a chain 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And now make 1 single crochet into each chain. Well, obviously you're gonna skip the first chain because that's what we always do. So we skip the first chain, start working from the second chain. And you should end up with 5 single crochet. Now just chain 1, work the next row. You're gonna need a total of 5 rows. So we're basically making a crochet square, which is 5 single crochet into 5 rows. So I'm gonna go off camera, finish the next 3 rows, and I will come meet you. Well, now that I have my 5 rows, I'm just gonna add 1 round of edging around the sides. So for the edging, I'm just going to make 1 single crochet into the side of each row and into each chain at the bottom near the foundation. And in the corners, I'm going to make a single crochet, half double crochet, and a single crochet. So I will be counting this as the first corner. So this already has a single crochet. So I'm going to make a half double crochet and a single crochet, so that now counts as a corner. So I'm gonna make 1 single crochet into the side of each row till I get to the last row, and in the last row I'll be making a single crochet, half double crochet, and a single crochet. I'm gonna continue making single crochets across the bottom edge of the foundation chain, and while I'm doing that, I'm also gonna be working over that tail. And here's our very last stitch. In case you've been watching my other videos, you know that I hate sewing in the tails, and I will do anything to avoid that. So here's the corner. We made a single crochet, half double crochet, and single crochet. And now I'm gonna go ahead and make 1 single crochet into the sides of these rows. And so the next space is actually where the first single crochet from row 5 is made. So I'm gonna count this as a corner. So I'm gonna make 1 single crochet and 1 half double crochet, and I've been leaving it at that because it already has another single crochet over here, so that counts as corner. And I'm gonna cut that tail. I'm gonna go ahead and secure that tail with a invisible join. Just gonna weave in that tail by passing it through a few stitches. And like I mentioned earlier, I'm not really worried about being neat. So that's the cheese all done. So we're done with all the parts now. We have the top bun, the tomatoes, the cheese, the patties, the lettuce and the bottom bun. So I'm gonna pause right now and go and connect my glue gun so that it heats up. Well, I'm still waiting for the gun to heat up properly, but I think I can still use it. I'm just gonna generously apply that glue all over this bottom bun. And just squish that lettuce on top of it. I'm gonna repeat that onto the next bun. Hopefully this time the glue is melting properly and it's not as messy. I'm adding very generous amounts of glue here because I need this to be secure, because if it's gonna be a keychain it needs to be durable. And then let's move on to the patties. There's no correct order to put it in. You can put the cheese down and put the patty on top. You can have it however you like it. This is just how I like my burger, so there is no right or wrong. For the cheese, I'm just gonna make a little cross across the bun. And put that on top. Squish it into place. For the tomatoes, I'm just gonna just put them wherever. I just like putting them in the opposite corners so that there's one tomato visible from each side. And I try not to think too much about the placement. I just put it wherever. There you go. Now for that top bun. I'm gonna really squish that down to make sure it's really stuck in place. And do the same for the other bun. I'm gonna switch off my glue gun and put that aside. So here is our burger. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pull out all those strings of glue. They are easier to remove once it's dried fully. So here are our burgers hot off the hook. And if you notice that there's a slight difference in the size of the buns, so I was just experimenting with them, and one was 4.5 mm, or I think it was 3.75 mm, and these two were 3 mm, which is why there is that change. I just wanted to see if it makes any significant difference, but no. And also I did experiment on the lettuce as well, which is why this lettuce is quite extra fluffy while compared to the others. So this pattern is quite flexible. You can really make it your own by customizing it however you want to. So that brings us to the end of this video. I hope that you enjoyed this pattern. If you make this pattern, do share your pics with me on Instagram by tagging @madewithlove_by_Daisy. Do subscribe to my channel and check out my other patterns as well. I will see you in my next video. Until then, happy hooking!